A cry in the night. It was a cold and quiet night. The wind moved slowly through the trees. The stars were hidden behind thick clouds. On a lonely farm at the edge of the village, a man named John walked back to his house. He was a farmer. His hands were rough, his back hurt from work, and his life was simple. He had no wife, no children, and no one waiting for him inside. He closed the gate and was about to step onto his porch when he heard it. A small sound, a soft cry. John stopped, turned his head, listening carefully. There it was again, a weak, high-pitched whimper. Like a baby, but not quite human. He grabbed the flashlight hanging near his door and walked toward the sound. The crying grew louder as he moved, closer to the edge of his fence, and then he saw it, a basket, a glowing basket, wrapped in a silver blanket. Was a baby, but not just any baby. The child's skin was light blue, and his hair shimmered like silver threads. His eyes, when they opened, were a soft glowing gold. John's heart skipped a beat. What in the world? He whispered. The baby looked up at him. He wasn't afraid. He didn't scream. He just stared. Around the baby's neck was a pendant, a strange symbol glowing faintly with blue light. John looked around. Who left you here? There was no one in sight. No footsteps in the mud. No lights in the distance. Just darkness. John's instinct said to walk away, to call the police, to report it and let someone else deal with it. But something deeper inside, something warm and human, told him to pick the baby up. He reached down and carefully lifted the tiny body into his arms. You poor little thing, John said softly. Who would leave you out here? The baby made a small noise and rested his head against John's chest. John sighed. Well, you can't stay out here. He walked back into the house, closed the door, and locked it. Then he set the baby gently on the old couch and wrapped him in a thicker blanket. I'll call someone in the morning, John told himself. Maybe the government, or some doctor. Someone who knows what you are. He sat down in the chair next to the couch. The baby had already fallen asleep. John stared at him for a long time. Where did you come from? But outside, someone was watching. Deep in the trees across the field, a tall shadow stood still. It was her, the alien princess. Her eyes were full of pain. Her long cloak fluttered in the cold wind. She wore a mask that hid her true face, but her breath was sharp, quick, and full of sorrow. She watched as the human carried her son. Inside, her hands were shaking. Her heart was breaking, but she didn't step forward. She couldn't. She had made a choice, a terrible, heavy choice. Her people were hunting her. Her enemies were getting closer. She had no more allies. Her son would be killed if they found him with her. She had only one hope, to hide him among the humans, not to give him a chance at life, even if she couldn't be part of it. The humans seemed kind, simple, yes, but not cruel. She had read about humans. They were unpredictable, dangerous, but also known for doing strange, good things, even when they didn't have to. She had watched this man for days. She had seen him feed a hungry dog, help an old neighbor fix her roof, work hard from sunrise to nightfall. He had no family. Maybe he would protect her son. Maybe he would not ask too many questions. Tears rolled down her cheeks, though no one could see them. She took one last look at the house. Then she turned and walked into the night. Morning light crept through the old windows of the farmhouse. Birds were singing, but the air still felt strange, too quiet, too still. John sat at the edge of the couch, staring at the baby wrapped in a blanket. He hadn't slept all night. His eyes were red and his hands were shaking just a little. Baby No, the alien child, was now sleeping peacefully. His small chest moved up and down slowly. His skin still shimmered faintly, and the glowing pendant around his neck pulsed like a heartbeat. John rubbed his face. What do I do now? He had raised animals, fixed tractors, planted fields. But this was something else. He reached for the old radio on the table. the one he used to contact nearby towns or emergency services. But as he touched the dial, the baby stirred. John looked down. Golden eyes opened and stared right at him. The child didn't cry. He didn't seem scared. He only looked calm, like he trusted the man in front of him without reason. John froze. The radio hissed suddenly, even though he hadn't turned it on. A voice crackled through the static. "Do not contact local authorities." John's heart jumped. He looked around. Was someone nearby? The voice continued, cold and mechanical. "Keep the child hidden. Others are watching. If you report this, they will come." Then silence. The radio died. No signal. Just dead air. John stood slowly, holding the radio like it might explode. What the hell is going on? He opened the door and stepped outside. The morning fog was still hanging over the fields. Everything looked normal. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was out there, watching him. He walked to the edge of the porch and looked toward the trees beyond his land. Nothing moved, but still. He felt it, a presence. He walked back inside, locked the door again, and sat down. The baby looked up at him, eyes wide and glowing faintly. He didn't look dangerous. He looked innocent, helpless. John sighed deeply. He stood up and went into the kitchen. He made a bottle, guessing what might work. He warmed some goat milk and poured it into a clean container with a rubber top. Surprisingly, the baby drank it slowly, without fuss. John smiled, just a little. "Well," he muttered, "you're not too picky, huh?" He leaned back, holding the baby with more confidence now. There was something comforting about the child. Something peaceful. But in the corner of the room, the pendant around the baby's neck flickered again, this time brighter. John noticed it and reached for it gently. It was cool to the touch, almost icy. As soon as his finger touched the metal, he saw a flash in his mind. A woman, tall, dressed in strange silver armor. Her face was beautiful, but full of pain. Her eyes, sharp and glowing, looked directly at him through the vision. She was speaking. But no sound came. Then the image was gone. John jerked his hand back. He breathed hard. What was that? The baby had fallen asleep again. He looked down at the tiny body in his arms. "I don't know who you are," John whispered, "or who she was. But someone left you here for a reason, and it wasn't random." He stood up. "Slowly, I guess. I've got a choice to make." He walked over to the back room and pulled out an old wooden box. Inside were documents, money, old IDs, things he had kept from his younger, more restless days. If he was going to keep this child, he couldn't let anyone else know. Not the police. Not the government. Not even the neighbors. Too many questions would lead to danger. He looked at the baby again. "You're not going anywhere," John said softly. "At least not with strangers." That night, he made a bed in the spare room. He fixed the windows, cleaned the dust, and brought in some soft cloth and blankets. He didn't know anything about alien children, but he knew how to protect something he cared about. He sat beside the bed and watched the child sleep. Far outside the house, hidden in the tall trees beyond the farm, two small lights blinked silently in the dark. Not eyes. Drones. They watched, recorded, and then vanished into the clouds. The wind rushed through sharp black trees on a distant moon. Fires burned in the distance. Ash floated through the sky like dead snow. A woman ran across a broken field, her breath sharp, her steps silent. She was not dressed like a queen. Her royal robes were gone. Now she wore a long tattered cloak, dark and soaked in blood from battle. Under it, light armor shimmered, armor only high bloodline warriors could wear. But she didn't feel like a princess anymore. She felt like prey. Behind her, the heavy sounds of machines grew louder. Metallic claws crushed rocks. Alien voices shouted in a cruel, clicking language. They were close. She reached the edge of a cliff and stopped to catch her breath. Her hand pressed tightly against her side. where a fresh wound bled through her armor. Her mask was cracked. A small piece had fallen off, revealing part of her pale blue face and sharp cheekbone. Below the cliff, a dark river flowed. She looked down at it, then up at the skies above, black, cloudy, and silent. There was no help coming. No army. No loyal guard. Only her, alone. Her thoughts burned with a single name: Leo. Her child, her son. Was he safe? She had watched the human take him in. She had seen the man's hand, strong, rough, but gentle. She had seen the man hesitate, then choose to pick up her son. She had chosen well. But how long could they stay hidden? She turned quickly and pulled a small black cube from her belt. She pressed the center. It buzzed once. A tiny voice came through. Princess Kaylin. Do you read? She took a breath and answered. This is Kaylin. I'm alive. Barely. Where are you? The voice asked. We thought you fell at Scarnpoint. They almost caught me. I escaped. Are you injured? Yes, but it doesn't matter. I need help. There was silence on the other end. Princess, your location is compromised. There's a bounty on your head. Even your old allies are turning against you. They say the child is gone. Kellen's eyes filled with pain. He is not gone, she whispered. He is with someone. A human. A human? The voice said with disbelief. Yes, I left him there. I had no other choice. If I had kept him, he'd be dead by now. But, Princess, find Dr. Haven, she interrupted. The old human scientist. He owed me a life debt. Tell him I'm calling it in. We'll try. Kaylin didn't wait. She turned the cube off and threw it into the river. She didn't need trackers finding her. She pulled her hood tighter and began walking again. Every step hurt, but she kept moving. Not for herself, for her son. On Earth, John was working quietly in the barn. Leo was inside the house resting. It had been 5 days since he found the baby on his doorstep. 5 strange, sleepless days. John now moved with more care. He locked every door, closed every curtain, didn't answer calls. He even disconnected the satellite dish. He didn't know what kind of world this child came from, but he knew one thing: someone was coming. That evening, as the sun dropped low, John stepped outside to check the fence line. The cows were making strange noises. He walked past the last gate when he saw it, deep, strange footprints in the mud. Not boots. Not paws, something heavier. Something with claws. He knelt and touched the edge of the track. It was fresh. Maybe only hours old. He stood quickly and looked around. Nothing moved. He went back inside and locked everything again. He picked up Leo, who was now awake and watching him with his glowing golden eyes. It's okay, John said quietly. I've got you. Suddenly, the old radio in the corner sparked. It had been dead since that strange warning. Now it lit up by itself. John stared at it, not moving. A cold, deep voice came through the speaker. The royal blood cannot hide. The voice hissed and clicked like metal on stone. Give us the child, or be erased. John's grip on Leo tightened. The radio went silent again. The light in the room flickered. Leo didn't cry. He didn't scream. He only looked up at John, blinking slowly. And somehow, even though John was full of fear, he didn't feel alone. Not anymore. The sky was quiet over the farm. But John's heart was not. Each morning now felt heavier than the last. He had stopped listening to the news. Stopped answering the door. Stopped talking to anyone. He was hiding. But the world around him was changing. And so was the child. Leo was not a normal baby. John knew that from the first night. But now strange things were happening, things John could not explain. It began with the lights. One evening, John walked into the room with a bottle. The power flickered and went out. The bulb above them buzzed, then lit up again, brighter than before. John didn't think much of it, but then it happened again. And again. Only when Leo was awake. Then There were the toys. One morning, John left a small rattle on the table. When he came back, it was floating in the air, spinning slowly like it was hanging from invisible strings. John froze. Leo was giggling, both tiny hands open in the air. The toy dropped the moment John stepped closer. John picked it up, his hand shaking. He looked at Alaya. The baby just smiled at him, like nothing was wrong. John sat down and whispered, "What are you?" But Leo only made a soft, happy sound and reached for his hand. John didn't pull away. Something inside him, some strange warmth, was growing. This wasn't fear. It was something else. Trust, connection, maybe love? He shook his head. Still, he couldn't ignore the truth. Leo had powers, real ones, and someone, somewhere wanted those powers for themselves. The next day, something worse happened. A black vehicle rolled up near the outer fence. It was sleek and silent, no engine sound, no license plate. John watched from the window as two people stepped out. They wore plain gray suits and dark glasses. They didn't look like police or farmers. They carried strange scanners. John's stomach dropped. He placed Leo in a hidden box under the floorboards of his bedroom. It was small but warm. He had made it just in case. Leo didn't cry. It was like he understood. John closed the lid gently and covered it with a rug. Then he stepped outside. "Can I help you folks?" he asked, trying to sound calm. One of the agents smiled too politely. "Just a regular land check, sir. New regulations." John nodded slowly. "Don't remember anyone telling me." The man raised the scanner and began walking toward the barn. "Sometimes the paperwork gets lost." The other agent stayed close, her eyes scanning the porch, the windows, the roof. "Nice place," she said. "Quiet." John followed them carefully. "That's why I like it." The scanner beeped once. Then again. The agent paused. John's breath caught. He pretended to look away, acting distracted. Those things ever mess up around all this metal? Tractors and tools throw them off sometimes. The agent didn't answer. The scanner beeped a third time, louder. Then it stopped. The agent turned to his partner. "False read, nothing." The woman looked disappointed. "Guess that's it," the man said. They walked back to the vehicle. John waited, muscles tense, until they drove away down the road and disappeared into the trees. He didn't move for another 10 minutes. Then he rushed inside. He opened the hidden panel and pulled Leo out. The baby blinked up at him. Still quiet. Still calm. John sat on the bed, holding him close. "You knew, didn't you?" he whispered. "You felt them. That's why you didn't cry." Leo touched his chest with one tiny hand. A warm glow spread from that spot, soft, comforting. John didn't understand how, but he felt safe, and that was enough. That night, something changed again. John had fallen asleep in the rocking chair beside Leo's bed. The wind blew gently outside. Then the wind stopped. No sound. No movement. Not even the crickets. John opened his eyes and froze. Leo was floating, not high, just a few inches above the bed. His eyes were wide open, glowing gold. The pendant on his chest was shining like a small sun. John stood up slowly. "Leo?" The baby looked at him, but didn't speak. A soft hum filled the room, like a low song from the air itself. The rocking chair shook. The glass in the windows, vibrat. John reached out slowly, carefully. "Come down, son. You're safe." Leo blinked once, then slowly, gently, he lowered back to the bed. The glow faded. The silence returned. John sat down, heart pounding. He didn't sleep that night, but he didn't leave the room either. Because now he knew something very clear. Leo wasn't just different, he was powerful. And if anyone found out what he could do, they would come again. Next time, they might not leave so quietly. A cold wind blew across the wide plains of Earth. bending the grass low as a silent ship moved through the sky. It was invisible to most eyes. No lights, no noise. Just a dark shape slipping through clouds like a shadow with wings. Inside the ship stood Princess Kaylin. Her body was covered in bruises and burns. Her armor was scratched. Her mask was gone. Her face now showed her true identity: tired eyes, sharp cheekbones, and a look filled with determination. She had no army, no backup, but she had one mission left: to reach her son. She sat in the pilot's chair and looked at a small glowing cube in her hand. Inside it was a flickering image: Leo, from the day she left him on the human's porch. His tiny arms reaching up, his golden eyes trusting. That moment haunted her every night. She had walked away to protect him, but now they had found his signal, and they were coming. She tapped on the controls. Her fingers moved fast. Her voice was low and clear. Prepare. Cloaking, set landing course. Target, Earth Sector 0412, human territory, rural farmland. The ship hummed softly. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Please, let him still be alive." Back on Earth, John was packing supplies. He moved quickly. Now. No time for slow decisions: food, blankets, tools, fuel. He had seen the signs again last night: glowing drones in the sky, barely visible, watching, waiting. They were back. Whoever they were, they had tracked Leo. John didn't know how much longer they had before a full attack came. He looked down at the baby in the carrier across his chest. Leo was calm, his small hands holding the front of John's shirt. "You okay, buddy?" John asked softly. Leo smiled, just a little. Even now he didn't cry, didn't panic. Almost like he understood. John opened the barn door and pushed a dusty old truck into the light. It coughed when it started, but the engine roared to life. He had fixed it the night before. Just in case, he buckled Leo into the seat beside him and stepped on the gas. The wheels kicked up dirt as they drove down the old gravel road. Away from the farm. Away from everything familiar. But just as they reached the bridge near the forest, the sky above them cracked with light. A dark shape dropped from the clouds. Faster than a falling star. The truck screeched to a stop. John jumped out and grabbed Leo. He ran behind a tree as the ship touched the ground with no sound. Smooth and perfect. John held Leo close, heart pounding. Was this it? Was this the end? The ship's door opened, and from it stepped a tall figure with long white hair, silver armor, and glowing blue skin. Her eyes met his. For a moment, everything went still. Then she dropped to her knees. "Give me my son," she said, her voice trembling. John blinked. "Your son?" She stood again, slowly, eyes locked on the baby in his arms. "I am Kaylin, princess of the Elyari Empire. That child is my blood." Leo made a soft sound in John's arms. When he saw her, his eyes lit up. He reached toward her. John hesitated. Then slowly, gently, he stepped forward and handed the baby to her. Kaylin took him with shaking hands. She held him close, tears falling silently down her cheeks. "I thought I'd never see you again," she whispered in her native tongue. John watched them, unsure what to feel. He had raised Leo these last weeks, protected him, fed him, loved him, but now— "You left him," John said carefully. "Why?" Kaylin looked at him, her voice thick with pain. "They were going to kill us both. I had no choice. I chose to save him the only way I could." "And now?" John asked. "Why come back?" "Because they found him. And now they're coming to finish what they started." John's jaw tightened. "They already came once. 2 of them. They scanned the land. I barely kept him hidden." Kaylin nodded. "They won't stop now. They know he's alive." She turned toward the ship. "We need to leave." But John stepped in front of her. "Leave? And go where?" "He's safe with me." Kaylin looked into his eyes. "He's not safe anywhere. But with me, he has a chance to survive. You think I don't care? John said, voice rising. That boy, he's more than just royal blood. He's just a child. And I've been here every day, holding him when he couldn't sleep, warming him when the night was cold. Kaylin stared at him for a moment. She saw not just a human. She saw a father, someone who had risked everything for her son. Finally she spoke. Then come with us. John froze. What? I can't protect him alone, but maybe with you. He has a real future. The wind blew gently again. Leo reached out his small hands and touched both of them. Kaylin looked at John. John looked back, and something between them shifted. The ship hovered silently above the clouds, cloaked from sight as it moved across the empty sky. Below, the forests, rivers, and mountains passed like shadows. Inside, the silence was heavier. John stood near the window, staring down at the world he knew. His hands were tense. His mind raced with 100 questions. Across from him, Princess Kaylin held Leo in her arms. She whispered words in a language John didn't understand, but somehow it sounded like music, soft and full of sorrow. Finally John spoke. Tell me the truth. Kaylin looked up. All of it, John said, his voice calm but firm. Who is he really? Why are they after him? And what is he becoming? She took a long breath. My son, she began slowly, was never supposed to be born. John blinked. What do you mean? My people are ruled by power. Only the strongest minds and bloodlines are allowed to survive. But my son, he was created in secret, not just from me. His father was not Elyari. John's eyes widened. You mean he's half human? No, she said. Worse, in their eyes, he is half something ancient, something forbidden. A race lost long ago, creatures of pure energy. His father's blood was from them. The council called it pollution. They feared what the child would become. She looked down at Leo, who stared up at her silently. So they tried to stop it. They did more than try, she said. They destroyed entire labs, erased records, killed scientists. When I refused to obey, they turned on me. Sight, I was infected, a traitor. I barely escaped with him. John stepped forward. So his powers, they come from the old blood, she said. It's still waking up. Right now he's only a baby. But soon, his mind will grow faster than ours. He will feel energy, control it, become something more. Is that why the lights flicker around him? John asked. Why things float when he's scared? She nodded. Those are just the first signs. But there's more. Kaylin walked to the control panel and pressed a button. A screen lit up, showing a hologram of stars. Then a dark spiked ship appeared. Massive, silent. It moved like a shadow across space. This, she said, is the one hunting him. It belongs to General Trex. He leads the purifiers. Purifiers? John asked. They believe in cleansing. All impure bloodlines, any species that mixes, is marked for death. The screen zoomed in. A red dot blinked on Earth's edge. He's coming here. John asked. Kaylin nodded. The signal went out the moment Leo's powers activated. John looked at the boy. Leo had fallen asleep in a round nest-like chair. His pendant glowed softly on his chest. You said he's something more, John whispered. But he's still just a kid. Yes, she replied. But to Trex, he's a threat to everything they believe in. If they kill him, they send a message to the galaxy. There is no place for mixed blood, no place for peace. John felt his chest tighten. He had worked all his life on Earth soil, quiet, alone, far from war and politics. But now, holding this child, he felt something rise inside him. I'm not a soldier, John said quietly, but I'll fight for him. Kaylin turned to him, surprised. I thought you hated us. I don't care where he came from, John said. I held him when he cried, fed him when he was hungry. and he looked at me like I was his whole world. He paused. That makes me his father, and no one hurts my son. Callan's eyes softened. For the first time, she didn't look like a royal warrior. She looked like a mother. Then we stand together, she said. Suddenly, the lights inside the ship flickered. An alarm beeped. Callan rushed to the screen. No, they're early. John looked over her shoulder. A dark shadow was entering Earth's atmosphere. They found us. Callan grabbed a small metal box and tossed it to John. Put this on your wrist. It's a shield activator. Don't take it off. John strapped it on. Callan held Leo tightly and pressed a button on the panel. A new voice came through. This is the human defense net. Unidentified ship, you are entering restricted airspace. Callan didn't answer. There was no time. The screen showed Trex's warship dropping lower, massive and silent. John looked out the window. Lightning flashed in the sky as the clouds turned black. The final storm had begun. The sky above Earth turned dark like midnight, even though it was only late afternoon. Thick clouds rolled across the horizon. Lightning cracked in flashes of blue and white. Thunder followed, deep and rumbling like a giant's growl. John stood at the edge of the field, watching. The warship had arrived. It hovered above the forest beyond the farm, massive and terrifying. Its shape was like a blade, its black surface shining with dark energy. There were no windows, no markings. Just fear. He felt it in his bones. He turned and looked back at the ship, where Callan and Leo waited. This was it. The final moment. He walked back inside. Callan was standing near the doorway, armor shining in the dim light, holding her son in one arm and a weapon in the other. Trex's ship is scanning the area, she said. They will strike soon, John nodded. Let's not wait for them. He reached for a heavy tool from the wall, an old plasma cutter, upgraded years ago for farming repairs. It wasn't a weapon, but it would do. Callan looked at him. You don't have to do this, she said. I'm already doing it, John replied. He's my son too. Leo, now awake, looked at both of them with wide golden eyes. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He only raised his small hand and placed it on John's chest. The pendant on his neck glowed. John felt a strange warmth run through him. Like calm before a storm. Callan stepped outside first. John followed. The wind screamed through the trees as 3 small attack ships dropped from the sky. They were fast, black and silent. From the center ship, a figure stepped out. Tall, armored, face hidden behind a cold metal mask. Trexx. His voice came through speakers, deep and sharp. Return the child. You are trespassing on royal affairs. Callan's voice rang back. He is not your concern. He is my son. He is an abomination, Trex hissed. He is not pure. John stepped forward. He's more pure than you'll ever be. Trex turned to him slowly. Human, you are dirt beneath our boots. Step aside. John raised his weapon. Try me. Trex raised his hand, and the soldiers attacked. Energy blasts lit up the sky. Callan jumped into the air, moving fast like lightning. Her blade met theirs, sparks flying with every strike. John ducked behind a tree, firing bolts from the cutter. He had never been in war, but he didn't run. He fought like a father protecting his home. Suddenly, a blast hit the ground beside the ship. Leo cried out. A soldier turned toward the child. Callan screamed. John ran, but it was too far. And then everything stopped. The sky turned gold. The clouds froze. Time itself seemed to pause. Leo floated above the ground, eyes glowing like the sun. His pendant burst with light. Wind, light, and sound wrapped around him like a shield. The soldier aiming at him dropped his weapon. The others fell to their knees. Even Trex stepped back. No, he growled. This is impossible. Leo raised both his hands, and the earth shook. Trees bent. The warship cracked. Its energy shields fell apart like paper in rain. One blast of golden light shot. Upward silent, but powerful. It didn't destroy. It transformed. Everything within. The field stopped fighting. The soldiers dropped their weapons. Trex collapsed, gasping. His mask broke open, revealing cold, pale eyes full of hate and fear. Kalen stood still, tears falling. John stared at the child, overwhelmed. Leo floated gently back to the ground. The light faded. The storm disappeared. And silence returned, later. As the sun broke through the clouds, John sat beside Kalen on the porch. Leo was asleep in their arms. He didn't kill them, John whispered. No, Kalen said. He stopped them, showed them something stronger than hate. What was it? Peace, she answered. Real power. John nodded slowly. What happens now? Kalen looked at the sky. They'll go back. Word will spread. Some will still hunt him. Others will see him as a symbol. But one thing is clear. She looked at John. He's not just a prince now, he's a future. John looked down at Leo's peaceful face. Then we teach him to be more than a weapon, he said. We teach him to be a good man. Kalen smiled softly. Together, they sat in silence as the child slept between them. The war was over, but a new story was just beginning. The end.